He's a dynamic and fluid wrestler from the Great White North, the man who rules the duels, an enthusiast for Endymion, and he might just wrestle for a company who forced our local promotion to change its name. Leo London, welcome to the Second Turnbuckle podcast. We're happy to have you here with us, my guy.
Oh, thank you for that great introduction. Happy.
I try my best.
He worked very hard on that introduction.
I always work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this. All right. First off, how are you today?
I'm all right. Just, trying to stay busy during the corona.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Aren't we all?
We definitely are. All right, so let me get into a little bit of what you do first. First off, you have a Yu-Gi-Oh channel, Yu-Gi-Oh Leo, which I just subscribed to, actually.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You're like I said, you're a wrestler. You wrestle for what's mainly Pacific Coast wrestling. Is that correct?
It's Premier Championship
Or Premier Championship Wrestling. Pacific
Funny
Coast
story.
is ours.
Yeah.
So-
I wish it was by the coast, but
Funny-
no, I'm in the landlocked area of Winnipeg.
Ah, okay. So
Ooh.
Chris Jericho land.
Yes.
Okay.
So funny story about. Do you know when Premier Championship Wrestling started?
Do I know when?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Premier Championship Wrestling started roughly around the same time as Ring of Honor.
Oh,
Okay.
see,
So early 2000s.
so that's
Yeah.
what happened. So we had a small promotion called PCW over here. It was Pacific Coast Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and it started as PCW. And then they had to change the name to PCW Ultra when it started streaming. So everyone was sort of confused to the change because I didn't know of another PCW.
Still, we might have found why.
Yeah.
There's another one in the UK that's really big called Preston City Wrestling.
Ah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So-
I didn't know that either. The UK wrestling scene, like, if it's not like ICW, Rev Pro, or what have you, I really don't know too much about it.
Oh, that's all I know about. I know more about them than I do the United States for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the UK, it's only so much landmass.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many promotions condensed in such a small space. It's
Yeah, and it's
mind-boggling.
it's such a like visceral feeling over there. Like I've seen just videos or streams of the promotions there and the fans there. I mean, if you do something wrong, they will absolutely let you know.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hear it.
For sure.
All
but
right.
if you do something good, they let you know too.
Yeah, that's true.
Bit of a funny story about how condensed the area is. So I
Mhm.
live in Canada, in Winnipeg, where I am 15 hours from Edmonton.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
it's a long time. So for me to get anywhere is a mission. So I don't want to say it, the name of the promotion in case it doesn't work out, but I am talking about going over there.
Mhm.
And I said, like, can I work other places, or is this like an exclusive trip? And he's like, no, we can even get you some dates. Do you mind driving 2 hours? And I just started laughing.
You're like, yes. Or no, I don't mind at all.
Compared to the 15, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing. So yeah.
All right, let me do a little bit first because we definitely want to talk the wrestling stuff. But I am a gigantic Yu-Gi-Oh fan. I started in 2011 when Dark World and Chaos Dragons was the meta.
Oh, awesome.
Or actually no, Six Samurai was the meta, and then like Light Sworn and stuff came later. But just a couple questions off the top of my head. When did you start?
Okay, so my relationship with Yu-Gi-Oh started when the game was first released. So I
Okay.
remember being a little kid going and getting structured deck Yugi, and then getting stomped by everybody with the Blue Eyes one because it was way better.
It was way
Yeah.
better. Blue Eyes Beatdown was the only thing that mattered.
And by the time I was too cool to play a kid's card game, Structure Deck Pegasus and Joey had come out. So just then I decided to stop. So I didn't play for a long time.
Mhm.
And then when Link Monsters got introduced, it sounded really interesting to me. The idea of having to strategically choose your zones.
Mhm.
Little did I know that doesn't matter at all. And
No, not anymore.
So that's when I came back into it.
So 2017.
Yeah, roughly around there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have
Very cool.
I have no idea what just happened.
Yeah, this is the part, top guy, where you stay to the side. Let the big boys talk.
Y'all tripping.
Yeah.
So what was it like coming back into the game? Because you missed Xyz, Synchro, you missed at Pendulum, you missed everything. Was there anything like super confusing other than, well, all of it?
So at first, I didn't like the game a whole lot because I bought an updated Dark Magician deck, and I kind of got turned off from the scene, not by the game, but by like the people who were at my tournament.
Yeah.
Can I swear on the channel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Were assholes. They were like literally laughing at me and my friend for like playing decks that we like, as opposed to like jumping back in and spending thousands of dollars.
Yep,
on a
it
deck.
happens all the time.
Wait a minute, hold on. So you can spend thousands of dollars on a card game?
Dude,
Yeah.
just a couple formats ago, there's a deck called Spiral, and you needed there were 9 cards, and all of them were $100 each. So just to start with it was $900 down the drain.
That doesn't make me feel as bad about some recent life decisions that I made.
Yeah, it's
we
cardboard.
all have our thing, man. We all have our thing. So if you're buying action figures or title belts, whatever it is, it's your thing. But right
Cigars.
now, I have 3 cards in my deck. They're the same card. It's called Magician's Souls, and each
$100
one
card
is $160 Canadian.
Yep.
Wow.
And I have 3 of them.
That was one of the cards in Spiral.
Yes.
Dude, that card is broken. It's so good.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, enough with that. Let's get to the actual wrestling stuff. So who inspired you to become a wrestler?
Mitsuharu Misawa.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So, when I was growing up, my papa would not let me watch the trash that is the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was right in the midst of like the Attitude Era. So he was like, "You are not watching that in my house."
Oh wow, okay.
But he did let me watch like very old tapes of like Johnny Saint and Johnny
we're
Kidd.
going way back.
Oh yeah, Steve Gray, Big Daddy, the stuff that he watched when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got to high school, I realized that those tapes are currency. And now I can trade them for other people's tapes, which is dating myself because I'm talking about VHS tapes.
Yeah.
But once I got a hold of like the Japanese stuff of Misawa and Kobashi, and especially early 2000s Noah, that was my stuff. Yeah.
Did you ever have anything of Inoki?
I probably had stuff with him on it, but for whatever reason, he didn't resonate with me like Misawa did.
Yeah, I really like watching Kenta Kobashi, especially because he is the epitome of protected finisher to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. People think he busted out the Burning Hammer all the time.
Nope, he only did it 5 times.
I thought it was 4.
Yeah, but I think it was 8. Was it 8?
Maybe, but very few.
Yeah. I know Kenta is the only one to receive the modified version.
Mm-hmm.
What's
his name? What's his name? Did it? Well, he kind of. What was his name? Johnny Rex.
Tyler Rex.
Tyler
Rex.
Yeah. His was like a watered down version, as is everything in WWE.
It's basically the attitude adjustment on your stomach.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not what the Burning Hammer. Brian Kendrick did it in the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. He did it. That was to Ibushi, right?
Yes.
The only one that would take it.
Probably. I wouldn't want to take it, dude. No, thank you. I'm good. All right. Do you have any goals as an independent wrestler? Anything you're shooting to? Like, do you want to end up in NXT? Do you want to end up in New Japan? Like, what are you trying to do?
I am too old for that now.
Oh yeah. Funny story. I was 25 and I'm sitting like I was a custodian when I was 25. I was sitting at my job and I'm like, dude, I have like 5 years to either do something in music or become a professional wrestler. And I looked at some of your training and I was like, nah.
Peace.
I'm way too fat.
There are some football players that have said that I can't talk. The wrestling, the training that wrestlers do is like some of the most difficult they've ever had.
This is true. I've done one, but not the other, and I would dare not try to do any wrestling training.
Anyway, back to your goals.
About training, I have a friend who we'll get to goals.
Sure.
Who does MMA as well? So I trained jiu-jitsu a little bit, and he wanted to come and try taking bumps. He took one bump and was like, "Nope," just rolled out of the ring and never.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a very not minor. I have a major interest in jiu-jitsu,
Oh,
and
nice.
I've done very little training. I've done like the first couple free lessons on Gracie University.
Sure. I like to train the 10th Planet style, even though
Okay, so Eddie Bravo.
yeah, although I'm
Yeah.
not at a 10th Planet gym, they just let me do it anyway.
Hmm.
And I don't take it seriously enough to be like really good. I took it to really as a form of exercise and to help my pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But as far as goals go, I've achieved most of the goals that I set out to do. Like I wanted to wrestle Steve Corino, and I got to do that. I wanted to be a tag team champion with my brother, and I got to do that.
That's
I've
dope.
wrestled across Canada. I got to wrestle Quackenbush, which I'm sure we'll talk about later with the.
We will
Steve
absolutely talk about that.
Yeah, that one crushed me, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Oh, I watched the match. I know exactly where you're going to go with that.
Yeah, as did I. So I watched the match. I listened to the other podcast you were on.
No, yeah?
Yeah, I did a little bit of research. I tried.
Oh, nice.
We did our work, man.
And so right now I'm at a point where everything, like I've achieved more in my career than a lot of people who've been doing this twice or three times as long will ever do. So I am very grateful for all the opportunities, like wrestling I wrestled the IWGP heavyweight champion.
Yep.
Like not a guy who had held the belt. I wrestled him while he held the belt. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I can't believe all these opportunities, and everything else right now is just gravy on board. Like I would love to go to the UK or America and just wrestle indies, and I would be happy. I'm completely content with my career, and for people who are like, "Oh, you've never done anything," well, I've probably done a lot more than you're going to if you're saying that.
Yeah, it's true.
You've done more than me, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely more than me.
Yeah,
We're just here talking about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's switch this up a little. We were going to talk about something else first, but let's go to wrestling the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. You're of course referring to Kenny Omega.
Yes.
Let's talk about your the tag team match that you sent me first.
Sure.
Your tag team's name is Gentlemen's Clubs. You and your brother, right?
Yes.
Versus Mike Angels and Chad Tatum, and Kenny was with Stevens.
Yes.
So what led up to this? What was the background in this match, and how was facing Kenny?
So that was the 8th time I had wrestled Kenny.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Since 2012. So we started working together because we were the only tag team, and Kenny, when he comes to Winnipeg, he wants to have fun, and I don't mean to speak for him, so I could be wrong, so just, this is what I gathered on my own information. He does, like, if you go there to a Winnipeg show and you're expecting to see Kenny versus Okada, you're gonna be disappointed, because that's not what he does. He's there to have fun and, like, hang out with his friends and, help the company that gave him his start. So we first started working with him, and because we had never hurt him or anything like that, we got to continue working with him. In fact, there was one time where the promoter is like, "Who do you want to work?" And Kenny goes, "I want to work the Londons." And Andrew goes, "Well, I want them to defend the title." And Kenny goes, "Too fucking bad. I want to work the Londons." So we ended up working twice that night, and I had to work. I got to work with Hikaru Shida in that match as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
The current AEW Women's Champion.
Correct. Yes. And then this match, the same thing happened. Me and my brother had already wrestled that night and defended the tag belts.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we come back, we have no idea that Don Callis is going to be there. Nobody told us that he was going to be our manager or anything. We showed up, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And my brother looks at me and mouths, "Who is that?" Because he doesn't know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, my brother watches like WWE.
Okay. That was going to be my next question: is how
opposite of
into wrestling is he?
He's like, his favorite wrestlers are in this order: The Rock, Colt Cabana, Kurt Angle.
What? Colt Cabana?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Colt Cabana is great.
He loves Colt Cabana.
No, Colt Cabana's fantastic. He's in the Dark Order right now.
Kinda.
When I told Colt that he was just below the Rock for my brother. He goes, how the fuck am I just below the Rock?
You know what? I can absolutely see Colt Cabana saying that. 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to get Colt Cabana on the podcast. He seems so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been a really nice guy every time we've got to work with him. But yeah, so we get back and we are informed only a few days prior that this match was happening, and we don't know that the Omega Man documentary is being shot. We have no idea that that's going to be there. So now we get there and there's all these cameras. There's hundreds of people. It's the biggest house we probably had. There's cameras for the documentary. Don Callis is here out of nowhere. We're all just like, oh my god, we just had a match. We gotta do it again. I have really bad anxiety, and even with being heavily medicated, I was throwing up for the match and stuff. But when we got out there, I just clicked, and it went really well. Yeah, it was just a really fun match.
Yeah, the match is hilarious. For anybody who is it public on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I saw it. So
yeah, I think it's public.
That's the first thing that comes up if you search Leo London wrestler. That is the first thing that comes up.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Well then, guys, go ahead and do that because the match is really funny.
Yeah,
it's a really well worked match too between everybody. I was very surprised.
Count how many bumps I take in that match.
94. No, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was something else. It was quite the experience.
So I have a question, just because you mentioned that you weren't allowed to watch WWE, but your brother was.
Yeah, we didn't grow up together.
Okay.
Okay.
Our mother, let's say, made poor life choices.
Okay.
And he got to stay with one side of the family, and I got to stay with the other. So we were separated for many years.
Okay, because I was about to say, huh?
Yeah, it's totally understandable.
It's like, where your father was just like, no, we're not going to watch that, son. We're going to watch real wrestling.
Pretty much, yeah. He didn't want the Attitude Era to corrupt my young mind.
Okay, you know what?
As it did with a lot of people.
It's corrupted a lot of young minds.
Yeah. There's only so many times you can see Trish Stratus being forced to literally kiss the ass of Vince McMahon before.
So interesting.
Anyway.
Interesting enough, all the fans that I know that were fans of Attitude Era Wrestling no longer watch the product.
I could see that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty widespread. It's very strange. They've all totally turned away. And I would argue that the quality of wrestling now, not storytelling wise, but pure in-ring stuff, is the best it's ever been.
I 100% agree.
I'd say the storytelling is great. It's just the personalities aren't necessarily all that great all the time.
There's definitely some control issues.
Yeah, as
well. Yeah, there are some great personalities, and those really shine through, like Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
AJ Styles, guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, now I don't know, I've never been there. I think they're given a little bit more leeway in how they're allowed to act and do things.
Right.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's Eco Warrior character was phenomenal.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah. I'd love for him to come back.
I would hate. I kind of hated when it ended, you know?
When that whole thing was happening, I jokingly called him a PG version of an eco-terrorist. Because that's kind of what he was.
No, yeah, he was, and I mean,
it's inflammatory terminology for sure, but it's kind of what he was.
For sure. It's kind of odd when you think about it, that a guy who's we need to save the planet, and you guys need to start taking better care of your bodies by eating better food, is the bad guy.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's weird. But that's
everything he said was factually true, but everybody just didn't want to buy it.
Honestly, that's America for you. So, I know you said you want to come here and work indies, but don't.
No, there's some cool indies here. Come on.
No, the wrestling is cool. The people are crazy. Anyway, so I have a question. When did you decide you wanted to be a professional wrestler? At what point? Was it a childhood decision, or was it more of a high school thing? Because I know a lot of people, I know a lot with some wrestlers on the WWE main roster. They're like, yeah, this didn't work out, that didn't work out, so I'm going to try wrestling.
So my initial attempt at wrestling wasn't even to take it seriously. I was I had a summer off from school, as most children do, and it was in between my high school year and my year going into university. So I just did the, twice a week training as a summer activity and didn't think much of it after that. And I never did anything with it for years. Then years later, I just decided that I was gonna give it a go and got back in the ring for, I have no idea what reason.
Okay.
Huh. A calling card, if you will.
Yeah, something just clicked in me, and I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a shot.
I'd say it's paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I've gotten to
definitely.
do way more than I ever thought. Like I would be happy doing one match because I'm a slight fellow, so I didn't expect to get any real opportunities in the business. And I've done, like I said, things I'm very grateful for, incredible things.
That just
All
so that just shows how the reach of independent wrestling, because you've legitimately wrestled one of the best wrestlers in the world multiple occasions.
Yeah, absolutely.
How close is like the on-screen Kenny Omega versus the backstage Kenny Omega? Or are you not willing to?
I think it's pretty known that he's a pretty easygoing, calm guy. Like he's not he's still eccentric in a way, but he's much more calm and reserved. I don't want to break his character too much.
Yeah,
but,
man.
Right.
Yeah, man. We got to keep the secrets, brother.
Yeah.
It's still real to me, damn it.
But I would say Kenny is genuine, and I would say there's a huge part of himself in his character. I would think it's just he's a lot louder than he really is.
I mean, the best wrestlers say like their gimmicks are basically them just turned up to 11. Is that kind of the case?
Yes, I would say he accentuates aspects of himself. From my best guess. Again, I don't want to speak for him.
Right.
We're not going to tag him or anything.
That's my assumption.
Yeah, we're not going to tag him or anything. You're good.
You never know. You might hear it.
That'd be great from like a listening standpoint. Hopefully he'd share too, but if not, it's cool.
Yeah.
Or like, I heard about this podcast. I want to come on now.
Maybe. That'd be great.
That'd be very cool.
He tends not to do them, but maybe.
Nah, he really doesn't.
No.
Yeah,
he's
I would love to pick his brain.
He's very protective of his character.
He's extremely protective of his character.
Yes, I would say so.
I would love to sit down just for 15 minutes and pick his brain.
Yeah. It's an experience every time I've got to do it. He teaches me so much every time. Like, for example, I would have never known that when I'm picked up in the electric chair, I have to keep my core tight for balance issues, and nobody had ever told me that before. Until Kenny said, we're going to hit you with this, like, super kick doomsday device.
Oh.
Interesting.
We're going to keep your core tight. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And he goes, well, that's because I'm the fucking man.
I can
that
honestly
is the most
believe.
Kenny Omega thing I've heard.
I can believe him saying that.
Yeah.
Yep. And right after that, we started talking about how much we both enjoyed the game Dead Space.
I've only played a very little of the first one because the first mission. Well, first off, I played it when I was young, and I'm not very good at video games. And the very first mission, 1, freaked me out, but 2 is kind of difficult for little. Oh God, how old is I? I don't even know how old I was, but it's fun. It was an interesting game.
Yeah, it's very good. It's like a horror sci-fi survival game. It's really cool.
That's the game that the needle in the eye. Ugh.
Yeah.
I refuse.
It still freaks me out. Like anything near my eyes bothers me unless it's like my own finger. I don't even like the masks that we are all wearing now because COVID. If it goes too close to my eyes, it freaks me out.
I refuse to play
that game. Gives me PTSD.
Yeah, I
not
refuse.
Real PTSD, but
I refuse to play Dead Space because life is stressful enough.
There you go. All right, let's go into what started this interview. So I met you on Twitter, and we kind of were talking about like inequality in wrestling, and I'm going to expand this and say the speaking out movement as well.
Yes.
So first thing we'll do is the speaking out movement. So for anybody who doesn't know, just we'll give a little bit of context. The speaking out movement was a lot of women in the industry coming forward about their abuse, their sexual abuse, or let's give a blanket context and say misconduct among their male counterparts. And I realize that's like that's very much watering it down what they did. If you guys have read some of the allegations, some are pretty horrific. But what I want to ask you is, like, how did this affect you? Was it like, were you shocked to see so many names? Like, did you know it was widespread? Like, what was your initial reaction?
Okay, so it was huge, and I was shocked by a lot of there were certain individuals that I was like, not surprised. Like David Starr, not surprised.
I wasn't either. I always heard he was kind of touchy-feely, a little wacko.
I find people like him who are shouting over the voices of the people he's claiming to protect, like people of color and queer people. Mm-hmm. When you're talking over them and drowning them out while they're trying to talk about the issues, you're probably doing it for your image and not because you actually care. Because if you did, you would elevate those voices as opposed to trying to get your own over. So I wasn't surprised by him, but there were so many that did surprise me. Quack being the most personally affecting one. Mm-hmm. And I nearly quit the business over it. Like, wow. The Me Too movement. It's basically the Me Too movement.
It's the wrestling, yeah. Exactly.
And I was like, this is so scummy. Like, yeah. I knew what I used to. Me and my ex-girlfriend, we're on good terms. Don't worry, no drama.
Okay.
She was a wrestler, and I knew what she had to go through. Mm-hmm. For example, someone told her, "You're never going to get anywhere in the business unless you're willing to suck dick."
Wow.
Now this person, is in Bullet Club. So I said,
"Oh wow."
What you have to say to him is that how you got into Bullet Club? And I was like, there is no way that this guy would be able to make any sort of comeback if she said that.
I don't mean to laugh, but that would be the perfect response.
Yeah. I was like, he's dead. You would have just wrecked him. There's no comeback. Like, yeah. He's done. He might as well retire.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who it was off air, but...
Sure.
So I'm not surprised by stuff like that and other things that she's had to deal with. Mm-hmm. Now, being a queer person, mm-hmm. Once I came out, I was worried about a little bit of backlash and stuff like that, but I never experienced any. Mm-hmm. So the people around me and in my small bubble universe that I've created because I feel safe like that, mm-hmm. Nothing happened inside of it, and that made me happy. But when you get outside to the grander world, it was just really depressing, and I actually did quit, and it took somebody talking to me to kind of reel me back in and realize that this is a bad moment, and I understand why you feel that way, but it's not... other people screwing up shouldn't be why you give up on your dreams. But what happened to these people affected me so much that I just didn't want to be a part of the industry that was doing this to them.
We did an entire episode on the speaking out movement when it, like, right in the midst of everything happening, like 2 days after the bulk of the allegations came out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was probably one of the hardest episodes we've ever had to record. Jay, would you agree?
No, yeah, it was definitely. We didn't even bring in any of the people we usually let contribute on that episode because, like, it's so hard to deal with a topic like that. Not only do we have to bring the people who listen to us the news, but we have to do it in a way so we won't, like, incriminate anybody. And we usually try to enjoy ourselves on the podcast, but it's really hard to have a good time when you talk about something like that.
It's and it was like, I won't say any names in my own personal life just due to privacy and what have you, but
yeah, for sure.
There are some women very close to me who have experienced that kind of thing, and it feels like a lot of women that are close to me and my friends have had to deal with these kinds of things. Like, I didn't even want to record it. I mean, I did because I felt like it was an important topic and it was something to discuss. That like it of anything that we should talk about, that should be it. But it was like reading some of the things was very difficult.
Yeah, Millie McKenzie, that one really hurt me.
Yeah,
that it's insane. It's insanity what she had to go through, and so many of the others. And I just didn't want to be a part of the same industry that had done this to these people.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's really hard to talk about. I realize that, we're, for anybody listening, I know this is supposed to be a fun and cool interview, but these are things that are important. And if you want more of our thoughts, go ahead and listen to the episode.
Yeah. Those people deserve to be heard.
Yeah,
they deserve to be protected and taken care of. And I hope that out of the misery that those people, the perpetrators, inflicted upon other people, that the business itself becomes better.
That's what I hope for, and that's one of the reasons why we talked about it, is because I truly, maybe it's naivety, maybe it's misplaced optimism, but that's exactly what I'm hoping for, is that this entire speaking out movement brings actual change.
Yes, me too.
I really liked Ring of Honor's response, which was essentially, come to us, it'll be anonymous, and it was a show of support and a iron fist of justice, if you will.
Isn't Marty still their booker?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of want to like not change the subject, but we have a different question. It's some sort of similar. So since we're here, I kind of want to ask it.
Yeah.
How toxic is like the wrestling locker room? Because we hear all the good stuff. Like we hear all the funny sort of things, like wrestlers court. We have to buy beer to people. But we also hear how much of dicks professional wrestlers can be. Like they're throwing people out of locker rooms. You're bleaching their gear. And then like we have stuff like this where it leads to a whole movement of people speaking out about how terrible professional wrestling can be. So how like toxic is a actual wrestling locker room? Because a lot of people who listen to this podcast, like us, like we're wrestling fans, but we've never stepped foot in the locker room. We've never trained. We've never done things like that. So like having you on is sort of our question of sort of our time to pick the brains of a like legitimate professional wrestler.
All right. So all the locker rooms that I'm in, I generally keep to places where I feel comfortable and safe. So they're generally really positive. Like Premier Championship Wrestling, my home promotion, is probably the most positive promotion I've ever been a part of. So for example, when I got to wrestle Kenny for the 8th time for the documentary, nobody messaged me saying, well, why the fuck is this guy getting to do it? It was a bunch of people messaging me saying, I'm really glad you're getting this opportunity. So that's a very different response, right? And whenever somebody, when I came out, the promoter for PCW was the first person to contact me and say, if anybody gives you trouble, you let me know and I'll beat the shit out of them. And if you ever saw Andrew, you would believe that he could do it.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of it. And I have had, I would say it's more about toxic people than locker rooms. PCW won't even hire people who use like slurs and stuff on Facebook. Like if you say that stuff, you're not getting booked. And if you are booked, you'll be unbooked.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's more about an individual, I would say, and how much power that person has. Because I feel that there are a lot of toxic people in the industry, especially at the local level, because they get to be big shots for when they're in the ring, when they don't get to do anything in real life. And they take it out on people who they see as lesser than them. And it's partially that reason why people who are like that would say that I have a bad attitude, because I'm a grown-ass man, and you're not going to treat me that way.
Right.
And there are times where, you know, I'm anxious and I lash out, or I say or do things that are like, I don't know, you might say they're like disrespectful or whatever, but they're nowhere near the scope of like abuse of somebody. I might say something rude or like, you know, I don't want to fucking work this guy. Something like that, you know?
Right.
So I understand that we all have moments, but if your moment is, I don't know, doing something like going to a booker that somebody is working for to get the finished change to try and get this person buried so they'll get in trouble with their home promotion, instead of just talking to that person face to face for 2 minutes and resolving a stupid comment like, why is that guy moving his feet so much?
This sounds like a from personal experience kind of story.
You might say it's oddly specific, yeah.
Yeah, because like when you said moving his feet, I'm like, that seems like only insider knowledge.
Yeah, so my brother was standing next to me watching somebody's trainees, and he said that, why is that guy moving his feet so much? And I was like, I don't know, because I don't know if that guy's trainer told him to move his feet that much. I don't know how new this guy is. Like, I don't know anything. So I just went, I don't know. And that was the guy's response. Instead of him coming to talk to me, it was trying to get me buried on a different show, to get me buried at my home promotion, instead of just talking to me. And then when I said,
that's petty as hell.
Yeah, I said, like, that's acting like a little bitch.
Yeah, it is.
He got mad that I said he was a bitch. And then I was like, what?
Wow. Get over it.
So that's another question. I'm glad you brought it up. I was listening to Eric Young talk about how he was treated in WWE, and he was saying stuff like, they want you to bump the same way, they want you to move the same way. Like, is moving your feet a lot necessarily a bad thing, or that's just something that was said in his ways, and this is how he thinks things should be done, and because it's not being done that way, he wanted to bury you? Like, I'm completely lost on the subject, but I understand, but I'm lost as to why moving your feet a lot would be an issue.
So first of all, I didn't even say the comment. So why he was taking it on me, I don't know. But moving your feet a lot, just especially in the situation, I think it was in a side headlock, just means you don't have a strong base and you might fall over.
Oh.
Okay. So it's a purely pragmatic reason.
Yeah, and I thought maybe he was just moving his feet to make him look like he was trying to struggle with the headlock more. Like, I have no idea. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. It was just
It's very strange. That just seems so, like, do you, obviously it would be, it's going to be a speculative question, but like, do you think this person, whoever it is we're talking about, that tried to bury you, like, did this person have like previous interactions with you that didn't go so well?
Actually, I would go to his training and work out, and I never had a problem.
That's so strange.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And
Maybe
then, like, all of a sudden, just because my brother, by the way, said one comment
not even
about him moving his feet, all of a sudden the switch turned. And we've had heat ever since.
That's so weird.
I mean, it could be a jealousy thing, because like you said, you've done a lot in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
maybe.
I honestly, I get that a lot in music. You know, there's a lot of jealousy for people in certain spots. And guys, if you're listening to this interview and you still haven't Googled Leo London or wrestler, please do. Like, he's wrestled Kenny Omega numbers of times. He has matches with Mike Quackenbush, and he was involved with Hikaru Shida?
Yeah, Hikaru Shida.
I'm sorry. The AEW Women's Division is not really to the forefront of my mind, except for Big Swole and Nyla Rose. But
okay, fair.
He's worked with a lot of great, talented individuals, and he hasn't necessarily been on, unless you haven't told us, or WWE, any sort of
anybody's radar. No.
Like, I was trying to be as nice as possible, but he hasn't really been on anybody's radar, and that just comes to show how you don't necessarily have to reach winning the WWE title at WrestleMania to have fulfillment in something.
Yeah, exactly. You define your own success. So if you're goal is to wrestle once a month in front of your hometown friends. And you put on your trunks and you have your match, and then that's it for you. That's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. If you want to be the next John Cena, well, I hope you know how much work that takes, but you do your best to get there. And yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I've arrived at the point where I'm satisfied and content.
I'm glad to hear that, because you do hear, like, when I wanted to be a wrestler, I tried hard when I was a kid. I took karate classes. This was back when Tough Enough was the thing.
Oh yeah.
And I forget who won, but it was the blonde-haired guy who worked over Kurt Angle. I forget his name. It was like Mike.
Oh, Daniel Puder.
Yeah, Puder. So there was this one guy who was on the Tough Enough, and he got voted off, and he kind of came to my where I was taking karate classes at, and his name was Justice Smith, I believe. I don't know if anybody else is going to remember that name but me, but I was so impressed, and the moment I saw him, I kind of started to have doubts, because huge man, extremely talented, actually MMA guy. So I at that moment I was like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah, it can be intimidating for sure.
So we do have a few more questions. I don't know what happened to the captain, but guess it's just you and I for a moment. He did sort of want to figure out. So we do have a few questions about what are your opinions on Nyla Rose, and as a wrestler, I know she gets a lot of heat on social media because she is male-female transgender.
Yes.
And so we just wanted to figure out your opinion.
I don't get to watch AEW enough to really comment on her ability as a wrestler, but I assume that if she's on a national product, that she's pretty good. Like, you don't get to that position without being good.
Yeah.
So that actually sort
Even
of...
if you take a look at someone who's, like, this is what I was saying, is I don't want to be offensive to someone like Dolph, but he's been regulated to essentially a enhancement guy.
Yeah, man, it bothers me too because he's incredible.
Yeah, we love Ziggles here. We call him Ziggles,
and he's essentially an enhancement guy. And look at his ability.
He's amazing. One of the best wrestlers in the company.
Yeah,
he could wrestle circles around a lot of the guys in NXT.
For sure. I kind of I have that same. Back when I was in sports, I had that same view of bench warmers in basketball. Like, yeah, they don't play, but they still are amazing talent to be able to get to that level. So we hope you're all enjoying this interview. I feel like this will be a great place to stick an anchor ad while we figure out issue here and there, but, Anchor's still great. So, yeah, here's an ad. Out to somebody about customer service. It was because someone tried to steal our podcast name and he cussed them out.
Oh yeah, I went to work.
Yeah. So his customer service is different from my customer service because I'm in customer service and I'm just like I just don't want to ruin this guy's shift. Kirk's like, man, fuck that.
Pretty much. All right, are we back?
Yeah, we're back. That'll probably be our cold open right there.
Hey, you know what? If there's such thing as a blooper reel, we've got quite a few.
Oh, you should hear other episodes of bloopers.
So my thing on Nyla Rose, I have absolutely no problems with her as a human being at all.
Mm-hmm.
None. I'm actually echo your sentiment that if the company views her as that good and she proves it, why do you care? So I saw a lot of comments when she first won the AEW Women's title of, oh, well, now there's a man holding a woman's title, which for one, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Two, so say that you hold that opinion. What you know what? I don't agree with it. I think you're dumb, but whatever. You're allowed to have that opinion. Sure. Why do you care so much if it is a scripted match?
So
like, why does it bother you that much?
Really quickly, to your point, why would that someone who identified as a woman bother you when the Chinless Wonder winning the first women's Money in the Bank match not bother you, and then Santino Marella holding the women's championship, or
Yep.
and then like even Eric Young held the women's tag team belts in TNA for a season. So it's like, why does this bother you
so much?
but none of that bother you?
I saw so much vitriol on this specifically, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, me neither. Especially like if you do hold that opinion, and like you said, fuck you if you do. Isn't that the best way to get heat imaginable?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Like it worked, didn't it? You're talking about her.
But yeah, that is just, it's beyond my ability to understand. I just
and like,
don't
do you think these were like idiot, like just people who don't know, or do you think these were like malicious comments? Like, I think it's a bit of both.
I think there are people who are ignorant and they're just scared of something they don't understand, and I do believe that exists. But there are definitely those who are, it's malicious 100%.
So you agree, like I do, it's probably some kind of mix.
A mixture.
Yeah. There's probably the ignorance who just, they're weird. They think it's weird and they don't get it, so they say things that.
Yeah, they'd say things they don't understand.
Yeah, and then there's definitely people who are quite aware they're being an asshole.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. 100%.
Yeah, I just kind of keep things that I don't understand to myself. I try to stay in my own lane, so I don't understand why other people can't share my sentiment.
Me neither. I don't.
In 2020, where you have so much wealth of information, literally clicks away. Everybody has a computer in their pocket now. There is no excuse for not just looking it up real quick. I mean, if you don't have the time, fine, but don't make public comments about it, because then you just look dumb.
Yeah, the thing with that is, if you're going to look for that information, they tend to look for information that only supports their argument.
Oh yeah, cognitive dissonance for sure.
This is true.
Yeah, so they're at that point they're making a choice in their ignorance to stay that way. Confirmation bias, and that's rampant, unfortunately. I think she's probably going to take shit her entire career
of course,
until the current young generation is the older generation, and we've kind of wiped out the old ways of thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Like and I in terms of like societal issues, I don't do politics a whole ton like publicly.
That's
well, on Facebook I do, but that's private. That's publicly private. I mean, publicly, like on this podcast, like we delve into it very seldomly.
Yeah.
And in societal issues, I'm pretty libertarian. Like I really, the transgenderism thing does not bother me at all. You do whatever you want. Go be free. It really doesn't bother me at all. And I think that is the way of thinking for the future. Like if we don't just let people, as long as they're not hurting anybody else, be, then we're going to be in a really bad place. And wrestling too.
Yep. Like I think that is the way the world is going, and I'm very, very glad about that.
Well, what I say privately to people that are in my circle is, I want it to be ubiquitous enough that coming out is not a thing, where it is like nobody comes out as straight, right?
Yeah,
because it's viewed as the default. And I don't want there to be a default. I want there to be, you are what you are. Cool. Do you want a slice of pizza? Like, it doesn't bother me. I don't get the vitriol behind these kinds of sentiments. Transgenderism, anything like that, any marginalized way of thinking or way of being. Like, I don't get it.
I feel.
Yep. I completely understand where you're coming from and completely agree.
Yeah, and this is why it's not to echo our sentiments, but these kinds of conversations are interesting to me, which is why we wanted to have you on. This was the main reason, the inequality in wrestling talk.
I just kind of wanted to talk to a professional wrestler.
That too.
I don't know how professional, but
I'm tired of having inequality talks. I do that on a daily basis. But yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else? I think we ran through all of our major talking points, didn't we?
Did we? I'm checking right now. Oh, we didn't talk about Mike Quackenbush.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that we'll have that match be the final. So that was something that you really wanted.
Yes.
That was one of your main things, and maybe regrets aside, in that actual moment, that match, like, how fulfilled, how happy were you that it was happening?
It was probably, like, from a personal perspective, it's bigger than the match against Kenny, like the last one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the guy who, he didn't so much make me want to be a wrestler, but he completely changed what I thought about wrestling and how I would wrestle. He was a huge influence on me, and he still is, in the mechanical sense of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was huge. And then, like, having all my friends there, and then the audience, to my complete surprise, being 100% behind me was weird. Like, I came out and was like showered with streamers, and then when Quack didn't get any, I was like, "Well, that's weird."
Wow.
That's strange.
Because I mean,
So I walked
this was
over
at your.
and like threw the ones that were on me on top of him.
That's funny.
And we had the match, and I'm sure to him, he's like, you know, this isn't my greatest match ever. He might never ever think about that match again, but I think about it all the time. And it's not perfect, as I'm nervous as hell. And there's one point he hits me with the black mass kick.
Yes.
He wasn't supposed to hit me with the black mass kick. My head was not supposed to be there.
Oh, shoot.
So he just swung it, and I just ate it.
Oh wow!
Ouch.
I was supposed to duck. I did not duck.
I mean,
Well, this was after. Yeah. So for anybody who hasn't seen the match, you had, like, you broke a rib in this match.
Yes, one of my ribs had popped out. He did the double knee drop on me, and the referee, attempting to save me from further harm, counted my shoulders down when I just barely got out. It was so close that even from specific angles, it doesn't look like I did. But yeah, there was no way I wasn't continuing, and the fact I was able to do so is quite.
I mean, that's pretty badass.
Yeah,
Straight up, I'm gonna give you some credit there. Like, that's badass. Being able to work through an injury like that, like, that's that's old school traditional wrestling. Like, whatever injury you have, you ripped your quads on the table. I don't care. You finished the match.
The Undertaker would be proud, brother.
Like, if
Triple H would be proud.
If it was a normal match, like a match against, I don't know, my typical local tag team match or what have you, whatever I was in, I probably would have been like, okay, my ribs are broken. It's time for me to go home.
Yeah.
I need to go to the hospital. But
yeah.
this was against, like, my hero.
Right.
I was not letting the match get stopped early. But it's because of that, though, that I got to pin him, as I wasn't originally supposed to do that. It wasn't supposed to be a 2 out of 3 falls match. It was just supposed to be one fall.
It just happened.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And the booker was like, well, we can't have people come in. We can't have Quack come in and then lose. And Quack was like, why? It's not like I'm going to be here again, you know? Like, who cares?
Wow, so was he willing to put you over?
Oh, God, yeah.
Wow.
In fact, it was his idea to let me pin him.
That's
he
wild.
made up the idea of the 2 or 3 falls match, and he could have easily just went, well, I'm just going to win 2-0. But he was like, no, this crowd is behind you. Like, they want you to win more than me.
Well, you're the local guy. They see you, you know.
Yeah, and I feel PCW, the fans are, like, very close to me. And they know me a bit they're invested in me, not only in my character, but as a person. So I recently, I got to the point in school where I had a job where I could call myself a professor. But that's just because I'm doing the role of someone who is a psychologist without actually being a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So they just say professor because it's, you
it's
know,
it's a colloquial thing.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So when I cut a promo and this guy's like, listen here, Mr. London, and I go, first of all, it's professor now, asshole. And the whole crowd popped because they knew it.
That's funny.
And I was like, that's really awesome. That these people care
that's
enough
great.
about my personal life to react to something like that. So that shows you why they were so much behind me, is because they're invested in the product and invested in me. And that's what made, in fact, that is what made me comfortable enough to like come out publicly, because we did a queer storyline and it went over so well that I felt comfortable enough where I could say it and not fear like backlash from the fans or anything like that.
That has to be very nice. Like, I'm a cis guy. I'm straight white guy. So yeah, I don't know much about that area, but that had to feel pretty awesome. Like having the backing of the fans. That had to be like a big moment for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I know wrestling isn't perfect, but it almost seems like the perfect place to be like a home.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A homegrown person.
So that whole storyline, we just started doing it because we thought it would be funny. We were in a stable. There was 3 of us. The Gentlemen's Club was originally 3 members. Myself, my brother, and then Alex Vanna. And we thought it would be funny. Well, what if we just have a little crush on Alex Vanna? Like both of us have a man crush on him.
That's funny.
And when the fans started to pick up, like, wait a minute, they actually like him. We were like, oh, well, what if we're actually together? And then it like progressed, and we thought that the fans, being, you know, what you might think of wrestling fans, you think a lot of them being, let's say, right-leaning, to put it really nicely. We thought that they would give us heel heat for being, you know, doing, quote, gay stuff. Like, we would kiss them on our entrance and stuff.
So you were fully expecting some kind of vitriolic response.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to get heat. And when they started to become invested in the relationship, the promoter was like, guys, we got to turn you babyface.
You can't be a heel and like with that kind of story where everybody's actually liking it and into it, and you're trying to present it as a heel, because everybody's going to be like, okay, but I like that.
So they had Alex Vanna, the 3rd guy, like break up with us and cost us the tag team titles. And during the promo, my brother goes like, we loved you. And he goes, I know you loved me, but I never, ever loved you. And the whole crowd started chanting asshole at him so loud that he's speaking into the microphone and we can't hear him.
Wow.
He has to stop talking. And I get the big mic drop moment at the end. He powders out after, like, I go to super kick him and he powders out. And I get on the microphone and go, there's one more thing I need you to know. I faked it every time. And the whole crowd goes like, oh!
That is great.
That absolutely deserves applause. That's hilarious. That's fantastic.
I'll try to remember to send you guys the clips right after. It's really good.
Yeah, if you could, I'd absolutely love to watch that, because that's funny. And that's hilarious.
And we'll definitely share this when this episode goes up.
Oh, awesome. I don't have the whole breakup, but I definitely have the key moments. Yeah, it was really something. Just feeling so free and doing like a queer positive storyline where people who are in the audience who are queer, and I know there's lots of them that are, never get to see stories like that play out. They never get to see stories like them. They get to see straight stories all the time. And that's, you know, it is what it is. But us getting to do this, and us not even asking the promoter, and when he did catch on to what we're doing, not only did he encourage us, like, he wanted to make it a focal point and push it even further. So yeah, just feeling that freedom and then being able to actually come out and say, like, this is who I am, was huge. And to feel so welcomed by the community at large, was pretty big. Just a really positive experience, which is why I got so upset when so many people had bad experiences.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end. I don't have anything else.
I don't either. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
No problem. Thank you a lot for having me.
I think,
and I'm going to extend an open invitation. I think I can speak for both of us. We definitely enjoy your mind. We definitely enjoyed this. So if you'd like to come on at any time, or if maybe if we ask, would you like to come on sometime again in the future?
Absolutely. Anytime I will talk wrestling.
All right, cool. Because we definitely we think you're a great guy. So
and
thank you very much.
You're officially the second Turnbuckle Wrestling Podcast's favorite wrestler.
For sure. All right, guys, that was Luchador Leo London, if you will. Yeah, that is another nickname I found of his. Go ahead and follow him on social medias and what have you. Would you like to plug your various
Sure.
social medias and anything else you'd like?
Absolutely. So my YouTube channel is Yugi Leo. That's Leoh. Like, it's pretty clever, I think. And my Instagram and Twitter is LeoLondon23. And you can also, if you wanted to support me on Patreon, you could do that too. I post exclusive matches there, and $20 patrons get my latest T-shirt sent to them. You know, stuff like that. That's patreon.com/YugiLeo as well.
We'll put it in the description of this episode as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course. And guys, thank you so much for listening to this. Go ahead, if you have any thoughts, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at OG_STP, and I'll let my outro take care of the rest. This has been Leo London. We really appreciate him coming on. And anybody else want to say anything last?
No, that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You just finished listening to another fantastic episode of the Second Turnbuckle Wrestling Podcast. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and give us a follow on Anchor and favorite the podcast so you'll have an in-app notification when we upload. We are everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Anchor does it all for us so you guys get the content you want as quick as can be, with episodes like our review of Undertaker's The Last Ride, which don't end up on YouTube. Anchor exclusive. We upload to podcast distributions a day before YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and give us a subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Follow us on Twitter at OG_STP, everything capital, on Instagram at OGSTP, everything lowercase, and on Facebook, just search the Second Turnbuckle Wrestling Podcast, and we'll be there for anything you may want to discuss on social media. Thanks you guys for listening. This is Captain, signing off.